This is a screencast on addition, subtraction, multiplication, division in chemistry. In other words, how do we use significant figures when we do math in chemistry? It's not like doing math in other classes. It's a little bit more complicated, of course. So I'm going to read this to you. The final number for addition and subtraction is rounded to the least places past the decimal. So here's what you want to remember. Least places past the decimal. What? So line the numbers that you have up by the decimal place like you did in elementary school, add or subtract, and then round according to the number with the least places past the decimal. For example, if you had 1.27 plus 2.4, the raw number, that's what I call it, would be 3.67. You can only be as accurate as your least accurate digit past the decimal. So your final answer would be 3.7 because 2.4 has only one digit past the decimal. So the final answer can have only one place past the decimal. So you can only be as accurate as your least accurate decimal place. So note that that had two places past the decimal, that it had one. Your final answer can have only one place past the decimal. That 7 made that 6 round up to a 7, so it was 3.7. Here are some other examples of addition or subtraction. So if you had 0.15, 1.15, 2.051, your raw number would be 3.351. You look at the number with the least places past the decimal, not that one, not that one. Well, it could be this one or this one. They both go 2 places past the decimal, so your final answer can have only 2 places past the decimal, which means it'll be the 3 and the 5. You look at the 1. Does that 1 do anything with the 5? No. So your final answer is 3.35. Now let's look at this one. 505 minus 450.25. Your raw answer is 54.75. 450.25 has 2 places past the decimal, but this one has 0 places past the decimal. We're just talking about places past the decimal, not things to the left of the decimal. So your final answer can have nothing past the decimal. Since 4 is the number you're going to stop at, you've got to look at this number next to it, which is 7. Does 7 cause 4 to round up? Yes, it does. So your final answer is 55. So you can have nothing past the decimal. I guess I got the 505 in there wrong. Sorry. That's a mistake. It's 55, so 54.75 would round up to 55. Now, multiplication and division is a little bit different. The final answer can only contain as many total digits as the number with the least number of sig figs or digits. So when you multiply or divide, you look for the number that has the least number of digits total. It has nothing to do with places past the decimal. So for example, 1.35 times 2.467. I see that times sign. I know that my final answer can have only 3 digits total in it because that number has 3 digits. And we're not talking about places past the decimal. We're talking about total number of digits. So the raw answer is this, and we can only have those first 3 digits, the 3, the 3, and the 3. We look at the 0. Does the 0 affect that 3? No. So your final answer is 3.33 because 1.35 has 3 sig figs total. This next one, 1035 divided by 42. I automatically know that I can only have 2 digits in my final answer. Here's the raw answer in the calculator. So I can only go to that place of the 4, but I got to look at the 6. Does the 6 affect the 4? Yes, it does. So the final answer is 25. So you can have only 2 sig figs total. And this one gets a little trickier. So we have 150 divided by 4. 150 only has 2 sig figs because that 0 doesn't count because there's not a decimal place there. The 4 only has 1 sig fig. So your final answer can have only 1 sig fig. Your raw answer is 37.5. And when we are rounding to get to 1 sig fig, we take that first number, and then the rest of them are turned to zeros. But we got to look at the number next to it. The 7 makes that 3 round up to a 4, and then that 7 will become a 0. So the answer is 40. 40 has 1 sig fig. And this number, we have 2 numbers in scientific notation multiplied by each other. And I see 2 sig figs in this one, and I see 3. Those 10s don't count. They're just telling you how many places to move the decimal left or right. So you can have only 2 sig figs in your final answer, and it'll be that first digit and that next digit. The 3 doesn't affect that 1, so it's 1.1 times 10 to the 17th. Notice the 10 to the 17th stays the same. Now let's talk about how you put scientific notation into your calculator. So in order to get the correct answer all the time, you'll need to properly employ the scientific notation button on your calculator. And some of the time you'll get a correct answer by doing your own special method, but when you really need a correct answer, for example, on a test, I'm guessing that you'll get the wrong answer by not following the proper procedure. So if you wanted to put this number, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, in your calculator, you do this. One, you type 6.02, and then you press the second button, that's the button in the upper left-hand corner, and then you press the comma button, which is above the number 7, and what you really are accessing is the EE function. And then you would type in 23, that is the exponent. So the EE button is the times 10 button. It will not show up on your calculator's times 10s. Do not type in times 10 in your calculator. You'll get it right some of the time, but probably when you need it right, it won't be. So the display on your calculator will look like this, 6.02 capital E 23, and that E means times 10. It's representing the times 10. So you'll not press the multiplication button again. The E embodies the times 10. So let's try some math with scientific numbers, scientific notation. 2.54 times 10 to the minus 5th times 4.7 times 10 to the minus 5th. So in your calculator, it should look like this, 2.45 E minus 5, and then the times sign, which is that little star, 4.7 E minus 5. And you have to keep sig figs in mind. That has 2 sig figs, and that has 3, so your final answer can have only 2 sig figs. And just a reminder, to get that minus in there, you plug the minus sign, not the subtract sign. The subtract button will get you somewhere else. So your raw answer is 1.151 E minus 9. Your final answer is 1.2 because your 4.7 here only has 2 sig figs. So you have to round that 1 up to a 2 because of that 5. Now this next number, 3.56 times 10 to the 4th, divided by 2.18 times 10 to the 11th, the number would be 1.63 times 10 to the minus 7th. You may want to try and calculate and make sure you know how to get that. All right, now I'm going to talk about mathematical order of operations. Holy cow, you learned about this at some point in time. So when a problem involves addition or subtraction and multiplication or division, math rules indicate, I did not make this math rule up, that the addition or subtraction must be completed first, and usually it's in parentheses, which is a huge hint. Do that first. And then once you do that addition or subtraction, you have to round that number, and then you will use that number in your multiplication or division problem, and then you'll round at the end again. So in chemistry, if there is a combo or of addition or subtraction and multiplication division, the addition or subtraction must be done first, and the number is rounded according to the addition and subtraction rules. Remember, that's places past the decimal, not total digits. Then this rounded number is used in the multiplication and or division, and you carry these numbers out in your calculator, keep on going, plug, plug, chug, chug, and then at the very end, you round to the least number of total digits. So let's try a problem with addition in it and multiplication. So if you see this problem, 1.56 plus 3.7 times 2.5 times 10 to the 9th, you first have to do the addition part. So 1.56 plus 3.7 is 5.26 is the raw number. You have only one place past the decimal in the 3.7, so you'd have to round that to 5.3. Now you plug in your calculator, 5.3, or maybe a new line on your calculator, times 2.5. Got to make sure you get in scientific notation E, 9. And when you hit the equals button, you should get 1.325 E10. That's your raw number. Both of these have 2 sig figs in it, total number of digits, so your final answer can have only 2 digits, which would go to that 3. The 2 doesn't affect the 3. Your final answer is 1.3 E10, or times 10. Now here's how to enter a complex problem into your calculator Miss A style. It's not the only way to do it, but it's the way I enjoy doing it. And I do enjoy doing math and chemistry. So if you had this problem where you had 2 scientific notation numbers on top and 2 scientific notation numbers on the bottom, I really like to envision this as a problem that is A times B divided by C times D. And I rarely use parentheses when I do these types of problems. In fact, when I enter this into my calculator, I do the 3.56 E4 times the 2.89 E minus 2, and then I hit divided by 2.18 E11 because that's on the bottom, and then I hit divide again because that next number is still on the bottom because I'm not using parentheses, 5.5317 E5. Now I don't use parentheses because I find if you don't use them properly, you'll get a wrong number. So your raw answer is 8.5316 e minus 5. Your final answer can have only, it looks like, 3 sig figs in it, so 8.53 times 10 to the minus 15th. Now, you can actually enter this into your calculator in a number of ways. If you were pretending this was A times B divided by C times D, you could do A divided by C times B divided by D. You could do A divided by D times B divided by C. I just don't use the parentheses. And if something's on the bottom, I still have to divide by it. And you can, if you don't believe this, you can try numbers that you know. So for example, 2 times 8 divided by 1 times 4. So you know the answer is 4. So now, schmonkey around with it. You could do 2 divided by 1 times 8 divided by 4, and you still get 4. You could do 2 divided by 4 times 8 divided by 1, and it still equals 4. I just love math. It's awesome. Don't you think that? Good luck.